please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Take it.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Technical issue. There we go. Okay. Roll call, please.
Campbell.
Yeah, here.
Fournier.
Here.
Hammond.
Here.
Crop.
Yeah, here. Sorry.
Menzer.
Yes.
Voorhees.
Here.
Okay, announcements, acknowledgements, communications, and reports. Tonight we will have a presentation of the 2019 fiscal year end audit report by the Plant and Moran team. Come on up.
Thank you very much. Good evening, Mayor and the rest of the City Commission. My name is Lisa Plonka. I'm a governmental auditing partner with Plant and Moran and very proud to have served on the audit of the city for many years. We're here tonight to present the results of the 2019 audit. We did have the opportunity to speak at length at the work session through some of the communications that we have, but did also want to take this opportunity to give some financial highlights that we discussed. First off, our results of our audit is what is referred to as an unmodified opinion, which means that as a result of our several weeks of procedures and tests that are put in place, the financial report that you received is materially correct and in accordance with all of the accounting standards that are applicable to a governmental entity such as the City of Mount Clemens. What does that does not get into is really an evaluation of the financial results and how the city is positioned. So we will go through some slides. Joe Werner is here with me tonight. He's the manager on the audit and responsible for supervising the day-to-day. But really just from an overall perspective, we are pleased to say, to see that the city did increase its fund balance again this year. So this is a trend for the past 4 or 5 years of increasing fund balance as we see revenue sources have become more reliable in terms of property taxes and state shared revenue, and the city containing costs and avoiding significant costs. So what this means is that at June 30th, 2019, the city is well positioned in terms of fund balance to acknowledge what are still some pretty significant challenges in terms of deferred capital investments that will be needed for infrastructure, and also looking at the challenges that we've discussed for many years in retiree healthcare costs that many communities in Southeast Michigan are facing. So again, I think we have what we say is a kind of a positive report with challenges yet ahead that it will require continued vigilance by the city and some longer term focus and in order to continue to address those challenges. So with that, I'll turn it over to Joe and he'll walk through the slides.
Thank you very much. So we've got a series of slides here. The first couple cover the general fund. So the first slide is the general fund revenue. A little bit difficult to see, but the results for the June 30th, 2019 fiscal year, the total revenue is $11.9 million, which is up about $1 million from the previous fiscal year of 2018. There were increases across the board. Increases in property taxes due to a slight increase in property tax value, increases in state shared revenue. The city also received additional funding from CDBG, which is a federal grant fund, and there were additional permits received related to the construction of the McLaren Hospital. The general fund expenditures here we'll see is $10.4 million for the year. The various categories at the bottom, general government, we did see a slight decrease there of approximately $100,000 related to some reduced salaries and wages. Public safety costs did go up slightly, about $100,000 due to an increase in contractual services with the county sheriffs. Public works and recreation, that category increased as well. That was related to the CDBG expenditures for that grant fund. And there were also increases in insurance and pension and transfers out to other funds such as the ice arena, the parking fund, and the sidewalk fund. So in total, at the end of June 30th, 2019, as Lisa alluded to, we saw an increase from 5.2 to $6.6 million, which is the highest amount that the city's had in many years. As you'll see, it goes down throughout the years, goes back up, goes down. And so this really shows how careful we need to be related to our spending going forward. The city's well positioned right now, but needs to be very strategic related to its expenditures going forward. This slide here shows the net pension asset or liability of the pension plan over the last 3 years. You'll see a decrease, and it switched from an asset to a liability from 2018 to 2019. And that was a result of a change in actuary assumptions when the actuary used a more conservative percentage for the long-term rate of return on its investments. So it's funded at 93%, which is still very good for most local communities. The OPEB plan, on the other hand, does have a significant liability. For years, the city, along with most other communities, would pay its liabilities on a pay-as-you-go basis, which is just covering the liabilities that are required for that current year, the current year premiums. But due to a GASB or financial accounting change in the standards, this liability was recorded on the financial statements starting in June 30th, 2017. So we'll see it was about $51 million for both 2017 and 2018, and we see a significant decrease as of June 30th, 2019. That was also a result of a change related to actuarial assumptions. Because the city has now set up a trust to fund future benefit payments, it's created a plan to fund it as well. The actuary was able to get comfortable increasing that rate of return for future years, so which is why our liability here is down so much from the previous year. The last two slides show the cash balances versus the principal and interest payments on its debt for both the water supply system and the sewage system. And so what this is showing is over the past few years, the water supply system is now building up cash enough to pay for its principal and interest payments and not requiring transfers from other funds. And this is assuming, going forward, these two funds are able to generate enough cash flow to meet these needs. There shouldn't be any required transfers from the general fund or other funds to meet these liabilities. So that's all we had. So I'd say in total, like Lisa was saying, as these slides show, the city's headed in the positive direction, and as we go forward, as long as the city's strategic with its decisions, it should be well positioned to make future infrastructure or other needs as they come due.
Thank you.
Questions?
I thought we exhausted our questions.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for the presentation. Moving on to agenda item number 5, adoption of agenda. I'll entertain a motion, please.
Motion to adopt agenda as presented.
Support.
Roll call, please.
Campbell.
Yes.
Fournier.
Yes.
Hammond.
Yes.
Crop.
Yes.
Menser.
Yes.
Voorhees.
Yes.
This is the portion of the meeting where we open up comments to the public. If you would like to participate, all we ask is that you give us your name and your address, and you abide by our 3-minute rule. Anyone?
I have some supporting documentation to provide, so I hope that doesn't cut into 3 minutes.
Thank you, John.
Denise?
Thanks.
No problem.
Thank you.
Yes. One. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That is, in a sense, the first portion of the presentation. The second portion of the presentation consists of this document.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
My name is John Greiner. I live at 7 2nd Street, Mount Clemens, Michigan. I was wrongfully terminated in retaliation for my free speech by the Macomb County Department of Roads. The pretext that was created by my former co-workers were lies. When those lies were repeated under oath, it became perjury. I have filed police reports. In following up to the police report I filed with the Macomb County Sheriff, I sent the 9/9/2019 letter to Sergeant Morfino, Sheriff Wickersham, Macomb County Prosecutor Eric Smith, Macomb County Executive Mark Hackle, and other elected officials. In response, I received the following letter, and that is the letter that's in here crosswise. And following Sheriff Wickersham's instructions in the letter, I attempted to file my Michigan State Police report to Captain Thomas Dacey on October 16, 2019, through a Detective Beardsley at the Metro North Post. Now this, we're in the second presentation package. On page 11, Beardsley stated, "That's not the proper method of requesting the Michigan State Police to help with an investigation, and every single police department around knows the proper method, and that's not it. They would never send someone properly just to come down here and say, here's the letter. That letter could have been typed by you. I have no way of knowing. I testified in the letter to Captain Thomas Dacey, and I am testifying here to you under the penalty of perjury that I received the letter from the United States Post Office on September 14th, 2019. I did get the Michigan State Police report filed on 11/26/19. That report is seen as Appendix 5, and Ms. Metzer has the complete report. In that complete report, there are 108 pages that will need to be shared amongst you to understand. To date, I have not had the equal protection of the law that is guaranteed by the 14th Amendment of the United States Constitution. I want this commission and our city attorney to help me get equal protection of the law that is guaranteed to citizens of this country. I want the commission to support me in requesting the involvement of the Attorney General, Dana Nessel. Thank you very much.
Anyone else?
My name is Marilyn Hall. I live at 300 Clinton River Drive. I left for Arizona on January 6th and returned on January 18th, during which time, I believe it was Sunday, January 12th, there was rain, heavy rain, and freezing rain. My basement flooded again. I'm so sick and tired of this. Pumps not turned on and whatever the problem is. I pay my taxes, they're current. I've lived in this town almost all my life. I was born here. But what's the problem with getting water in the basement, pumps not being turned on? Shouldn't these pumps be automatic? What's the matter with us? Why am I still getting, I had 4 inches of water in my basement while I was away, and it sat there until my sister found it and called me in Arizona to tell me, you have water in the basement. I had to replace the hot water heater. I've had to throw out couches, furniture, things that were down there. And it was rainwater. So I want somebody to explain to me or tell me why these homes were approved on Clinton River Drive and some pumps weren't required. Why is that? Can anyone tell me anything? I'm so frustrated. I don't put carpet down there because twice I've had to throw it out. This time the water was there and it sat. And I've got pictures of the 4 inches of water. I mean, it was ridiculous to have that kind of water in my basement.
Can you leave your pictures and your information, and the city managers will get back to you on that? Okay.
A lot of stuff. And just,
Can you?
and
Do you have
now,
your?
today,
Do you have your?
in the front yard,
Do you have your number, your phone number?
yeah,
and
I'll
they
put
can-
it on there.
Okay. And then we'll get back to you.
Like a sinkhole. The front yard dropped below the sidewalk.
Okay. Yep, we will. If you leave your, yeah.
We'll be in touch.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Well, if you're saying ladies first, that wouldn't be me. Gloria Heller, 260 Cass. I'm real glad that, actually I had something else I came about, but let's start with the audit. How many years I've been asking you to go out and put an RFQ and get yourself a different accountant? Years ago, when Plant Moran was involved in the Clintondale and those school audits, that went so bad, and they had to pay, was it a $7 million fine? I don't know, it was some big, and their explanation was, oh, we didn't do anything wrong, we failed to do something right. Duh. You know, and yet the city continued having them, and continued, and now I hear they're not reconciling their bank account. My God, I could have done that, and I'd have done it free. You know, you really need to examine whether you want to keep them. Boy, it's not very good shepherding of our money. Number 2, the fund balance. If it's in such good shape and we're coming along, it's time to remove that 5 mils off our roof, okay? And if you find that, put you back in a deficit fund balance, well then by God, it's about time, get yourself city income tax and talk to people right about it this time. Don't just be a commission that doesn't want an income tax because it'll be more money out of your pocket. That's what used to happen. Simple fact is, an income tax would be less or no money out of low and fixed income people, but it'd be a lot of money out of the other people that work and or have multiple incomes. And it's time for that. And finally, oh, and one of the things I was worried about this time on the audit, I turned right to the part that talks about tax abatement. It's all housing. Whatever happened to JB Cutting? Their dollars aren't in there. And they had 2 abatements. They had an 8. Both of them started in 8. One went 9 to 16 for 8 years, and the other one went 9 to 20. This audit report is for 2019. JB Cutting's tax abatement should show in there, and I could not find it. I went through the entire report, and I don't see anything to which Note 13 applies. Part of my issue about, I haven't been real fond of Plant Moran. Don't forget, too, they cut Moran on you, moved right out of town, went out on Hall Road. That should make you a little bit, you know, not happy with them. Finally, I have with me the Macomb Daily from January 27th. the one where it talks about Kobe Bryant being dead, and certainly that would have a lot of public concern. But it's also the issue where on page 1 down on the bottom, it starts, city manager finalist set for interview stage, and it goes on quite a bit on the inside. And I'm very, very unhappy, because although I was elated to retire Dempsey, it now appears that we have a mayor that thinks cronyism is the way to go. I would say, prepare yourself for a one-term mayorship.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Hey guys, Pat McKay, 1207 Wellesley Drive. Been over 20 years since I've been up here, so if I'm a little rusty, give me a break. I got a couple of things I'd like to pass out too, if that's okay.
Yep.
If I can do this right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's see, I got enough to go around.
Pat, what was your address on Wellesley?
1207.
1207. Thanks.
I might have to. I made 10.
Sure.
I don't know how many I was supposed to. I made it. I came right in on the way. And I think I got the copy for myself. Well, first of all, after hearing that audit on Platt and Moran, I'll tell you what, I am elated. I haven't been here in 20 years. Part of the reason I haven't been here in 20 years is because everything's been going so smooth, I couldn't argue with anything. There was nothing to put into it. Everything was going great. I mean, from a non-invasive point of view. And in the articles that I gave to you, oh, stop. First of all, congratulations, Mayor Prop.
Thank you.
And, well, there was somebody else I needed to talk to about that. Let's see. The two gentlemen are running for the city manager position. I don't know if they're here or not, but if they are, all due respect to them as well. So anyway, I'm going to try and make this as succinct as possible. The city, part of the reason why everything's been going great up here is because our views are represented by the people that sit in this commission and the mayor. You've all been elected by the city to represent our views. You are our voice. Based on what you guys hear from us, and your ideas too, because you've been elected on your platforms, we can figure out what kind of a city we want. We're in control. And I've had people tell me, well, you gotta go look at the city charter. You know, the mayor's not a strong mayor and the commissioners, they're all just blah, 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 blah. So the first page of that is what I pulled up on what the city manager does. And it says here the city manager is the supervising these departments, the fire department, the water department, the finance department, the wastewater treatment, public services, engineering, human resources, and at the very bottom, Department of Community Development. The city manager supervises all of those positions as an administrator, keeps them in control, consolidates where necessary, pulls in, lets go, you know, does that. That's what we need a city manager to do, to take care of the infrastructure in the back rooms, to make sure this city runs efficiently, and to keep the Platt and Moran audits coming in a positive direction. On the second page is an article from 1996 when Warren Redondo was still our city manager. And on that one, he says that there's a whole bunch of projects, 13 projects, but down here the most important one is the ongoing streetscape improvement in the downtown area to the tune of $550,000 in 1996, which included all kinds of brand new lights down through downtown. I drove through there tonight. It's still beautiful, it's well lit, it's a good place. I didn't see any pianos sitting around, but you know what? That's all right. Artist Music sells pianos. We can get them from there. And you know what? If we wanted pianos or we wanted some kind of maybe an LED light to be replaced in there to bring our costs down, that'd be all right. But we do not need to have somebody coming in here, and anybody, not just these gentlemen are applying, that are looking to bolster their resume, I think is what it said in the article. Mr. Novak wants to branch out his resume to include overseeing municipalities' day-to-day operations. However, I think that the definition of the city manager says supervising all these departments. Isn't that the day-to-day thing? So if he doesn't know how to do that, we could bring him on as an advisory capacity, help us with some great ideas. Great, no problem. But I don't think he's the man for that. And then the man from Royal Oak, I don't know if you've been to Royal Oak lately, the whole south end was torn down. Really nice, brought up a lot of money, but I think those people might have liked their houses. So, long story short, I think that we're going in a great direction. I think we have a city manager that works the books. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Hello, Brandon Bowman, 150 Cass Avenue, Mount Clemens Public Library. I have passed out sheets of paper to all the city commissioners already, and also the audience, but I would like to take this opportunity to invite everybody to a public meeting that we're having on February 25th, which is a Tuesday at the Public Library. We'll be talking about the upcoming renovations of our children's area, so we are looking at doing a major renovation of that. Hopefully that will be finished by the middle of April, towards the end of April. But as part of this, we've done a needs assessment of the entire building, and so we would like to talk to the citizens of Mount Clemens about looking at other renovations that need to be done at the public library and discussing some options that we might be able to move forward with. So I would like to take this opportunity to invite everybody, 7 o'clock on Tuesday, February 25th. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, seeing none. We will move on to item number 7, administrative response to issues and questions raised during previous meetings. Okay, seeing none. Item number 8, approval of the minutes.
Motion to approve the minutes of the work session on January 21, the regular meeting on January 21, and the special meeting on January 27th, 2020.
Support?
Support.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Fournier.
Yes.
Hammond.
Yes.
Crowd.
Yes.
Menser.
Yes.
Voorhees.
Yes.
Campbell.
Yes.
Moving on to general business, 9A, the discussion regarding the city manager selection. Do I have?
Motion to approve the selection of a candidate for city manager and direct the city attorney to negotiate the terms of an employment agreement with that candidate, subject to approval of the city commission. Support.
At the special city commission meetings of January 13th, 2020 and January 14th, 2020, the city commission conducted interviews with 6 candidates for the position of city manager. The city commission chose to conduct a second interview with 2 candidates at a special meeting held on January 27th, 2020. At that time, it was the consensus of the commission to continue the discussion of the city manager selection at the city commission meeting of February 3rd, 2020.
Okay, so we have gone through the process of looking at several candidates. We've narrowed it down. Do I have some suggestions from the commission?
I just want to say before we, I would think that we'd probably do a vote tonight, but this was a very, very difficult situation or something that we all had to go through into picking the right person for this job. There is no perfect candidate and there's no perfect response. We're all human. And I want to say that the 2 finalists both were strong candidates. Mr. Novak had different experiences than Mr. Johnson, but he was by no means a fly-by-night, okay? So these have been 2 good candidates, I think, and I appreciate them coming back. And I think they've both given us a lot to think about this last week, and I think we're ready to go.
Well said. Would someone like to make a recommendation? I'm happy to do that if you would like.
Recommend that.
Well, it's a motion.
Okay, so then I'm not ready. So we have a motion on the floor that we didn't insert a candidate's name. Should we just do that?
I would insert the candidate's
Okay.
name if you have one.
That's fine. Yep, that's fine.
All right, motion to approve the selection of Don Johnson for city manager and direct the city attorney to negotiate the terms of an employment agreement with that candidate, subject to approval of the city commission.
I'll second it.
Okay, do we have any discussion? Okay, roll call.
Hammond.
Yes.
Crowd.
Yes.
Menser.
Yes.
Voorhees.
Yes.
Campbell.
Yes.
Fournier.
Yes.
Okay, looks like we're moving forward. Thank you, everyone. 9B, City Commission approval of the fiscal year 2020 Specialized Services Operating Assistance Program third-party contract between SMART and the City of Mount Clemens. Motion?
Motion to approve the fiscal year 2020 Specialized Services Operating Assistance Program third-party contract between Suburban Mobility Authority for Regional Transportation, or SMART, and the City of Mount Clemens as presented, and to authorize the execution of the contracts by the appropriate city officials.
Support.
Attached is a fiscal year 2020 Specialized Services Operating Assistance Program third-party contract between the Suburban Mobility Authority for Regional Transportation and the City of Mount Clemens. This contract has a $5,281 increase of funds to be distributed to the city and is identical to the fiscal year 2019 contract. It has been reviewed by the City Attorney's Office. The contract further outlines the obligation of funds from MDOT through SMART to provide public transportation services to persons with disabilities and senior citizens.
Commissioner Menzer?
I just had a question. We've seen this contract several times, but I just had a question on it. It says here, you know, and you read, the contract has a $5,281 increase to be distributed, but it's identical to the fiscal year 2019 contract. How come? Where is that increase coming from?
The increase, what I was explaining to you in that agenda cover, Commissioner Menzer, was that all the language in the contract is identical to the previous year's contract, with the exception of there's a $5,281 increase this year in the funding that we received through SMART.
Okay, so the only thing that has changed is the amount.
Correct.
All right.
And they also changed some indemnification language that for years we had objected to, and SMART could care less and told us that they weren't going to make any revision to the same. And this year, not as a result of us, but they have made the indemnification clause much more acceptable to municipalities.
Was that due to other?
I assume other people have complained about it over the years. And not to get into the weeds, but they had a clause that the recipients, the municipalities, would indemnify the SMART for any and all of their negligence. Not just your own negligence, but their negligence, and that's now changed.
Okay, good. Okay, anyone else with questions or discussion? Roll call, please.
Pratt,
Yes.
Menzer,
Yes.
Voorhees,
Yes.
Campbell,
Yes.
Fournier,
Yes.
Hammond.
Yes.
Okay, item 9C, Local Officers Compensation Commission recommendation.
Move to approve the Local Officers Compensation Commission's recommendation of providing an increase of $500 per year for the position of mayor and an increase of $300 per year for the position of city commissioner.
Support.
Pursuant to City Ordinance 12.600, the Local Officers Compensation Commission is to review the compensation of the mayor and city commission each odd-numbered year. Currently, the mayor's position receives $2,000 per year, and the city commissioner's positions receive $1,200 per year. The Local Officers Compensation Commission met on January 16, 2020, to review the compensation, and after careful consideration, the Commission is recommending an increase in compensation as follows. An increase of $500 per year for the position of mayor. This increase would bring the total amount of compensation for the mayor's position to $2,500 per year. An increase of $300 per year for the position of city commissioner. This increase would bring the total amount of compensation per commissioner to $1,500 per year. The mayor and city commissioners received an increase in compensation in 2015 and 2001.
Okay. Is there any discussion? Go ahead, Commissioner Menzer.
So this is a small amount, but let me tell you what I spend this money on. And this isn't to, brag, this is to inform you that this money that we earn actually comes back to the community in many ways. So these are a few things that I've done with this money in just the last year, okay? I gave a donation to a resident of Maras who was going on a missionary trip to Kenya. I bought some basketballs for the Jermaine Jackson Center. I sponsored 3 children at Seminole Elementary for the entire school year for the Junior Scholastic Weekly Readers. I bought about 100 lawn bags and 2 contractor bags, boxes of bags for Neighbors Helping Neighbors. I have paid the senior dues for a Mount Clemens High School student who is unable to pay for them himself. I have bought more Boy Scout popcorn, more Girl Scout cookies than I could possibly eat, so thankfully the Girl Scouts accepted them as a donation for our troops. I bought a bike lock for a Seminole Hills resident who had his bike stolen. We got him another one through the generosity of Scott Noble from the Goodfellows, but I bought the lock. I bought 20 cans of cat food for a resident who was concerned that their cat, they didn't have money to buy the cat food that week and that their cat would go hungry. I have bought raffle tickets from the Goodfellows and from other organizations in town, and I bought Super Bowl squares for a Goodfellows who's used the money for his daughter's dance classes. I have bought birthday gifts for a child in Seminole Hills whose mother posted it how their child was being bullied at school and was asking for just simply cards to the child. So I went and bought not only a card, but I delivered some gifts. This does not include my personal money that I spend at the Mount Clemens Optimist Club. I'm the president of that club, and we do a lot of things for the students of our school system. Or the money I've donated to the Anton Art Center, or the lunches I've paid for with residents who want to meet to talk about something. The money that we earn up here, and $1,500 and $2,500, it's really not much. We are the lowest paid people, council, commission in Macomb County, and I believe in the state of Michigan. So this is what I do with this money. So the increase of $300 is not going to enrich me. It is going to enrich the community.
Go ahead.
Well, I know all of us up here play a big part in the city of Mount Clemens and for the residents and the many, many things that we can all put our money into. I guess my thought is, well, we saw an increase in our general fund. We have a long way to go, folks, before we are totally financially independent. I mean, there is still the OPEB liability, our infrastructure. And while this is a little amount, and I appreciate, thank you very much to the local Officers Compensation Commission for granting it to us, we all come to this job knowing we're not getting, we don't do it for the money, and we don't expect to get paid a lot of money. And so I guess my thought is, it is a small stipend, and I appreciate this, that it's, I appreciate the recognition, but I would just as soon see that stipend stay in the general fund and be used in the city.
Anyone else? Okay. Roll call, please.
Menzer,
Yes.
Voorhees,
Yes.
Campbell,
Yes.
Fournier,
No.
Hammond,
Yes.
Crop.
No.
Motion passes.
Okay, moving on to 9D, approval of purchases and payments of invoices.
Move to approve purchases and payment of invoices as presented.
Support.
Does anyone have any questions or discussion? Commissioner Menzer.
I just wondered under Vulcan Signs, they had on their bid, they didn't bid on items 7 and 9, the hardware. So how does that work?
We would, those items would typically be under the $1,500 charter purchase pricing, so.
Okay, so that 1,500 is in addition to their total bid of 4,150?
There's, the brackets and hardware are on here, correct? 7 and, I'm not familiar with what 7 and 9 was.
Item 7.
Okay.
I didn't see that in
Okay.
no.
And then I just wondered if you could tell us what the project was for, what is exactly the project for this sewer investigation?
That is the investigation on Dickinson. We have a grant coming up to redo Dickinson Street from Gratiot to Avery. And so this project is going to look at the sewer before we fix the road to make sure that the infrastructure is sound before we put new pavement over the top of it.
Wonderful.
Jeff, do you know whether, was Dickinson ever involved in the CSO project?
I don't know that. I don't think so, but I don't know that.
I know it's 20 years ago, so
Right.
okay.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, roll call, please.
Voorhees.
Yes.
Campbell.
Yes.
Fournier.
Yes.
Hammond.
Yes.
Crop.
Yes.
Menzer.
Yes.
Okay. Item number 10, consent agenda.
Move to approve consent agenda as presented.
Support.
Any discussion? We don't discuss, right? Roll call.
Campbell.
Yes.
Fournier.
Yes.
Hammond.
Yes.
Crop.
Yes.
Menzer.
Yes.
Voorhees.
Yes.
City manager's report.
City offices will be closed on Monday, February 17th, 2020, in observance of President's Day. Therefore, the next regularly scheduled City Commission meeting will be held on Tuesday, February 18th, 2020. Refuse pickup will remain on schedule during that week. In March, households will begin receiving official mail from the U.S. Census Bureau with detailed information on how to respond to the 2020 census, whether online, by phone, or by mail. Completing the census survey is very important for the city, as it provides the basis for reappointing congressional seats and impacts the funding the city receives from the federal and state government. Looking for various public service announcements on the city's local cable channel and website at www.cityofmountclemens.com.
Thank you. This is the portion of the meeting that we have public participation again. If you would like to address the commission, we just ask that you give us your name and your address, and you abide by the 2-minute rule this time.
Gloria Heller, 260 Cass, since you've addressed an issue that's been near and dear to my heart a long time, which is compensation of the commissioners and mayor. Does anybody know the history of where the compensation, the original computation was? Or what the reason is that it stayed so low? Well, geez. You want to talk to me then? Because I happen to have been around when my dad was around when that was all going on in the 50s. The original computation for compensation of the mayor and commissioners was 10% of the average wage. And I can tell you clearly, since I have all that stuff at home, like Daddy's W-2s, he was paid $5,000 a year working at the county as a department head. And $5,000 a year was kind of big for the 50s. And so $500, being 10% of that, was thought of as a lot of money. And over time, it became obvious that they weren't adhering to the 10% rule. And that was, I won't mention the person, although he's deceased, so let's not speak ill of the dead. He said, just leave it low, we don't want the other people. And pretty much that's when representation or lack of really took hold, and why so many of the commissioners and mayors came from the southwest quadrant, because the people in the other quadrants couldn't afford to give up time free. Because when you're on this bodies, you know, this is time that you could be holding a paid job. And that's what people in the other three quadrants needed to do. So let's starve them out. Let's get rid of all the lowlifes. We don't care what they think. Anyway, they have bad addresses. So let's leave it at this low amount that it was in the mid 10% of wage in the 1950s, and maybe we can control who's on the commission that way, and it certainly did turn out to be that way, because that's pretty much who's been on the commission ever since. So, up the ante and we'll get people working.
Joe E. Harrington, 152 Court Street here in the city of Mount Clemens. On the matter of flooding, I too had water in my basement and do commonly. And this is not the first time. When there is a response, could they answer how many pumps are there for the city of Mount Clemens? And what areas are they in? And are they manual or are they auto? Does someone have to go out and turn these pumps on when the weather is bad, or is it auto? Thank you.
I'm sorry, I don't think mine is quite as important as everybody else's, so I'll be brief. My name is Thomas Burns. I live at 291 Jones Street. And I just want to give you a list of thank yous. Like, I come to these meetings, and sometimes they're a bit drab, and you can hear people's complaints and the things that are going wrong, and it's real easy to slight and point fingers at the things that are going wrong, but never give illumination to the things that are going right. So, first of all, I would like to thank Michelle Weiss and her team and the amazing job that they did with the fire and ice this weekend. It was amazing. I've seen tons of families going live on Facebook. They enjoyed their time down there. There were kids jumping behind ice sculptures. They were enjoying the new children's museum. Mike Karpinski from our candy store, who did a great job as Baby Shark, if you guys didn't know. That was him dancing around up and down the street, really kind of getting into it and giving back to our community. So these are people that I feel like need to be highlighted. I would like to thank Dr. Wanda Goodenow, another one of our exemplary residents. Wanda attended our Black History Month book club that we had at Greater Morning Star. It started this Saturday at 6 p.m. She was great. She participated in all of the conversation with our students, and just her being there and giving that wisdom to the kids was absolutely amazing. As well as Dr. Wanda took it upon herself to buy all of the rest of the paintings from the Ministers Alliance breakfast, just so we would have enough money in the Ministers Alliance Scholarship Fund to get us started, so that we could bless some of the students in Mount Clemens this year. I would like to thank Gina New and her entire team. Gina has done an extraordinary job since the day I met Gina, and Gina has, really came through in the clutch. Gina and her team was able to bless the Jermaine Jackson Community Center with 20 new computers. These computers are going to help our community members in ways like helping kids fill out job applications and put together resumes, as well as helping some of our elderly in our communities by letting them pay their bills online and giving them a secondary spot in addition to the computers that they already have access to at the library. So these are just amazing people. We have great people. So thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, seeing none. Commissioner comments? I'll start with Commissioner Voorhees.
Tommy, I would like to echo a lot of your sentiments. There's a lot of people that do a lot of good things in Mount Clemens, and including on our appointments for boards and committees, I'd like to recognize Catherine Kelcher, and Elaine Johnston, who are going to be on the Board of Review. Kathleen will take my spot. I served on that for roughly about 9 or 10 years. It's a very important function for the city. Also, Teresa McGarity, Fred Hank, and Richard Schumacher, who serve on the Traffic Safety Committee. This is where the average citizen can give back to our community. And everyone has talent, and hopefully you can share that with us here at the city. Also, I'd like to bring up the election for the open city commission seat. The election actually will take place, I believe, in August. You can come to the city clerk's office and pick up a package which has all the material you will need. The nominating petitions are in there. Because there is only one seat open, the citizens are when you're signing a nominating petition, you can only sign one. Okay, so I made mention one time that, I hope 10 people run, and I still hope 10 people run, but you can only sign one petition. Is that not correct?
That is correct.
Okay, very
You
good.
can only sign the number of petitions for however many seats are open.
Right. So with that, once a Clemite, always a Clemite.
I'd like to say congratulations to the Anton Arts Center, who has now spent 50 years in the city of Mount Clemens. And I'd also like to say congratulations to Phil Gilchrist for bringing in Salvador Solor Pons, who is the DIA Director, President, and CIO. He is going to be a guest juror for the 47th Michigan Annual Exhibit. This is all Michigan artists. There were 159 artists that submitted 295 works of art. Phil says that is double the number that they've ever received. So congratulations to the Anton Arts Center, and thanks for the wonderful things that you're doing in the community. I wanted to point out our neighbors, Clinton Township. They're having their annual blood drive on tomorrow, actually, at the Clinton Macomb Public Library main branch from 10 to 4, and on Wednesday at the Clinton Macomb Public Library South Branch from 12:30 to 6:30. There is an extreme shortage of O-type blood and just blood donations in general. So it would be nice if we had some Mount Clemens residents show up at their blood drive and support our neighbors. I hit up the Fire and Ice Festival also on chilly night, and we had a lot of fun. And according to the Goodfellows, there were approximately, I'm sure Mickey knows better, but there were approximately 350 tickets sold. The most tickets that ever sold. It was a wonderful turnout. The city was alive. There was people all over the place, and everyone was having a good time. And the sea of red jackets, you found them everywhere. It was just like a parade of red Goodfellows jackets. It was wonderful to see. Commissioner Roger Button has always, in all of the years that he's was on commission, gave us a Black History Month lesson for every meeting in February. He's not here, but there was a very interesting special, articles in the newspaper from Sunday, and so there was something that struck me, and I just am going to repeat it. In 1619, when America went over to kidnap Africans for the slave trade, they kidnapped 1,000 at a time. Out of those 1,000, 640 survived the forced march to the shore. Of those 640, only 570 actually survived to get on the ship. And out of those, only 480 actually made it to America. I think that's sobering and staggering. And so that is my Black History Month lesson in the name of Roger Button.
Commissioner Campbell?
I want to say congratulations that we have a new city manager, to Mr. Johnson. It was also, Huh?
Typically accepts the
Oh, well. I also, it was brought up about tax abatements that were voted on in the past, two of them in 2008 and 2016. Both those tax abatements were given to a company that was not approved by the master plan. And I voted no on both of those. And it will be interesting to see when that one comes off in next year, what happens with that. Thank you.
Commissioner Hammond?
In celebration of Black History Month, the 2020 Macomb Celebration of Black Excellence Gala will be Saturday, February 22nd. Tickets are $35 and can be purchased on Eventbrite. 4 of the 6 award nominees are current or former Mount Clemens residents. Miss Ida McGarity is receiving the Community Advocate Award. Miss Linda Kareem is receiving the Business Impact Award. Miss Erica Peoples, the Artistic Award, and Mr. Sean Shackelford, the Educational Impact Award. And that's the same award Roger Button received last year. And also for the Black History Celebration Luncheon, we'll be presenting the Trailblazers Award to the MDP Chair, LaVara Barnes, on Saturday, February 22nd from noon to 3 at the River House Banquet Center in Mount Clemens, and tickets are $25. And you can contact the Democratic Black Caucus of Macomb County for tickets at 586-698-7076. And I'd also like to end with a quote from Rosa Parks. "You must never be fearful about what you are doing when it is right." Thank you.
Tommy, I want to say thank you to you for all you do in the city of Mount Clemens. I mean, you do a lot with the youth, and you've given a lot of recognition to others, and you deserve it as well. In fact, as I look around this room, for everyone that I know, I mean, most everyone here does it in quiet ways sometimes. Maybe we aren't out on Facebook proclaiming it or whatever it might be, but so I'm going to tell you one little story. I mean, if you look out, Ruthie, you're always doing something for somebody. Anthony and Patrick, you've got a business there, and it's not hard. It's been tough sometimes, but you stuck it out, and you've been such great champions for the city. Joe, you're on the local compensation committee, thank you. There's just so much that everybody does, but we all come together to make this city special. And I'll tell you one little story. I don't usually tell stories up here, but I was outside working in the yard, and a car broke down, right by my driveway, and I watched for a while. They sat there. There was 2 elderly ladies in there, and Finally, I went over and I knocked on the window. I said, "Do you need any help?" And they said, "Well, we have a flat tire and we don't know what to do." And I said, "Well, we can probably fix that." And I said, I'll figure it out. So I ran around to the neighbors. Well, I got some neighbors, because I don't know how to fix a flat tire. And they came over and they couldn't find the tire in the trunk. So we said, "Oh, great," and then they all went home, and I said, "Well, I'll call Vito." And Vito sent his truck over, and the driver was Troy, really nice guy. And so Troy, he says, "Let me look in this trunk." Well, he took all their stuff out, and he found the tire, but of course the tire was flat. So I ran home and I had a little compressor, and we pumped it up. So when we got their tire fixed, and Troy got it back on, and off it went. And I told Vito to send me the bill, and of course, he never sent me the bill. So there's wonderful things that happen in this city every day, and I thank all of you for being part of it. And just for the record, Gloria especially, I work full-time. I work full-time, probably put in at least 50 to 60 hours a week.
Art Space is an initiative that we are working on in the community, and we are having a survey launch party tomorrow at the Anton Art Center. But more importantly, we are looking for people to participate in a digital survey. The survey is just to gather information about people who would be interested in living, maybe they're artists, by And we don't just mean like you work with clay or you paint, but maybe you're a musician or you're a dancer, any kind of creative type of job. That was not very eloquent, sorry. But we are looking for people to participate in this study so that we can justify the need for this development. And so if you go to www.artcenter.org, there will be a link starting tomorrow afternoon. There will be a link to take the survey. We would appreciate any kind of social media participation, in other words, sharing the survey link. We need to get at least 500 people to participate in this, and they can be from anywhere 50 miles radius of Mount Clemens, so it's not 500 people from Mount Clemens necessarily. Also, on the web, if you could, by February 7th, participate in the HGTV Hometown Takeover. We're hoping that HGTV has a show, Hometown Takeover. We're hoping to attract the attention of this show and have them come to Mount Clemens. They do a makeover. So if you go to hgtv.com, there's a link for the Hometown Takeover, and you can nominate Mount Clemens. We'd love for you to participate in that. I will be having coffee talks for the month of February. It looks like I will only be having a coffee talk on February 13th at 6:30 because I don't think I have anybody who is willing to take over February 11th at 9:30 a.m. Anyone? No? Okay. So February 13th at 6:30 p.m. at John's Family Grill if you're interested in joining us. Lastly, I just want to announce that my husband and I both decided that we've been very, very fortunate and very, we've been very fortunate. And so I did not take this position to earn the compensation, and so I will be donating my entire salary or my compensation as mayor. So. With that being said, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Support.
Any discussion? All in favor?